we're finally given a full look at the new Twisted Metal show, and it looks fine. Welcome to Stay Tuned on Gaming. I'm your host Damien, where we ramble about video games for as long as I want. Like, comment, and subscribe all the way down below. So, the new trailer finally dropped for Twisted Metal, and I've seen mixed opinions all around. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people don't care for it. On my end, I think the show looks fine. It looks like a fun time. I know that it doesn't actually represent what Twisted Metal is, but I think this trailer shows the show off a lot in a much more stronger way than anything they've released before. I remember that teaser trailer wasn't good. And then that weird, I think that was at the Keeley event, where they showed off Sweet Tooth for the first time, and they did the thong song thing, and I was like, this doesn't look good whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, I like Sweet Tooth and like his performance, but everything else, I was like, I don't really know. So in the show, it's all about Anthony Mackie's character, which I believe is named John Doe, has to deliver this package after the world ravaged itself. They built up walls, and he goes and delivers things from one place to another. He gets given this package, and then all hell breaks loose, and he's hunted by everyone else. We saw Outlaw, we saw Shadow. Of course, the most important character, the most popular character, we saw Sweet Tooth, who obviously is the main character and kind of the poster child for the franchise. Now, that story is nowhere in the original Twisted Metal, or any of the Twisted Metal, really. There's not even an inkling of what Twisted Metal is. So if you don't know what Twisted Metal is, it's a vehicle combat game, and it's been going strong since the PlayStation 1. That was its first iteration. Its last game came out in 2012 on the PS3. Yeah, in 2012 on the PS3. I mean, at least the Last of Us show was in the game that came out way much more relevance than anything else that Twisted Metal has. But for some reason, Sony really likes Twisted Metal. I mean, Sweet Tooth was even on the PlayStation Battle All-Stars game. So they really do like Twisted Metal. I mean, they go out of their way to always bring up Twisted Metal in some capacity, but they've never made a new game for it. There were rumors that there was a game in works, but it could be cancelled or it's in developmental hell. We don't really know. I will say I love Twisted Metal. That was such an amazing franchise. I've played all of them, but one of my favorites, which I know a lot of people are not going to like, is Twisted Metal 4. I know a lot of people do not like Twisted Metal 3 and 4. Went into the much more cartoonish style, which many people didn't like. They liked the more dark and the more mature Twisted Metal, which was black and like head-on. But I like Twisted Metal 4. It was one of my first Twisted Metals. I remember as a kid playing it with a friend of mine who had a PS1. I didn't have a PS1. He had a PS1. I'd go over to his house and we'd play it like every Friday. Hours on end, just playing Twisted Metal. It was so much fun. But the story in Twisted Metal is that these bunch of cars are playing in this tournament called Twisted Metal, and at the end, you're allowed to one wish by Calypso. And there's a whole host of characters. Really, there's so many characters, and there is some connecting lore, but there really isn't also connecting lore. I can understand why they didn't go with the tournament style Twisted Metal, get a wish from Calypso type thing that could be anything that can even shape reality, because it's just hard to really tell a story that way, where instead they do this very generic plot of the world that got destroyed, they built up walls, now I'm traveling from one end to another. That story is very generic. Very, very generic. I mean, we've seen it in almost every post-apocalyptic world. There could still be something good here. I do think Anthony Mackie is actually doing a pretty good job, and I really do like Samoa Joe, who's playing Sweet Tooth, and Will Arnett, who's voicing that character. They do a really good job. Now, granted, it's not the murder clown, crazy asylum escapee serial killer from the video game, because he's much more deranged in the video game. And I think in 2012, they made him even more evil in the 2012 version. But they are still playing up his insanity, you know? But I hope they still keep the character cool, because that's the one thing about Sweet Tooth. He was always this really cool, dark character that stood out a lot from the rest of them. Now, there's a whole bunch of characters that they could bring in. Like I said, we saw Outlaw, but they could bring in Warthog. They could bring in Minion. Dollface would be really cool. I love Dollface a lot. We could have the Joneses from 4. We could have a lot of fun with the characters they bring in. And it does look like at some point they're going to have that vehicle combat, but I don't know where that's going to be in the show. As for right now, the trailer did show off a lot, and also kind of not really that much. The show is coming out on July 27th. I don't know if it's going to be as successful as the other PlayStation properties. Of course, PlayStation has been pushing this move to take the IPs they have and the success of their video game IPs and cash in them in other mediums. We saw this with Uncharted, the Uncharted movie, which was pretty okay at average at best. We saw it with Last of Us, which was very, very successful. I even got some Emmy nominations recently. And of course, this is Twisted Metal show. We know there's a Ghost of Tsushima movie in the works. I have no idea what that film is like. There's been talks of a God of War movie. I know there's a Horizon Zero Dawn Netflix adaptation happening somewhere as well. So there's a lot of properties that Sony's trying to make use of. If you do want to play the original Twisted Metal though, both 1 and 2, they will be available on PlayStation Premium very, very soon on the classic catalogs. I believe on July 18th or something like that. You'll be able to play the original Twisted Metal, which is really awesome because they've not really re-released Twisted Metal, I think, ever. So I think this is the first time they've actually bringing back Twisted Metal. I would love it if they would bring back some of the PS2 versions. Black is, of course, much loved by a lot of people. Head On is like a true sequel to Twisted Metal 2. I remember playing Head On the most on PSP. Like, I played the hell out of Head On the PSP. If they can capture just 10% of what the game is all about, which is not just the vehicle combat, but something dark underneath. Like, I hope the show is fun, but this dark, mature stuff that happens to a lot of people, then I think the show could be successful. As of right now, the show is teetering between, it's going to be an okay show for people that don't know anything about Twisted Metal, to it being probably a failure of an adaptation for people who are fans. Because the reason Twisted Metal 3 and 4 is hated by a lot of people that love Twisted Metal is that it went too cartoonish and it went too into the realm of not being as serious, and then they fixed that with Black, of course. So what are your thoughts? Comment down below. What do you think of the Twisted Metal show? Is it good? Is it bad? Are you gonna watch it? I do think I'm gonna watch it. It looks more in the style of having some fun. So maybe I'll watch it and I'll give you guys a big review at the end.